Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live Status Coup in the house. Let me know what you think of my new hat. If I could pull it off. On Friday, Ty Bayless criticized my fashion, said that the hat I was wearing did not look good and that I needed a flat rim hat. So I looked around the house and found that I already had a flat rimmed Status Coup hat, but just hadn't been wearing it. Ron Placone, this is the moment that you could tell me that I look wonderful in this flat rimmed hat.
I would have wore my flat rim hat had I known. I mean,
Okay.
I would have worn mine, and we could have been flat rimmed hat twins. But instead, I do not have my flat rimmed hat on, and I'm wearing contacts too today. So we're
Okay.
mixing up a little bit. Although though we both have a preference to V-neck shirts.
That's
So
true.
so I
That's
guess
true.
I'm glad we're not matching today. But I like it. I think it's a cool cap.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens when you're about 30. Well, I'm going to be 36. Your hair starts thinning. You've long stopped using hair gel. So you have to do what you have to do to cover it up. But thank you for the kind comments. Everybody, Ron Placone with the Get Your News On with Ron, which you should subscribe to on YouTube, Ron Placone's channel. He does great work on a lot of unsexy topics that are vitally important, like digital democracy, digital rights, in addition to other things. How you been doing, Ron? I know you were recently on tour.
I've been good, Jordan. Yeah, I was out. I was out in the Northeast in April, and I'm getting ready to go back out here soon. I'm going to the Reykjavik Fringe Festival in Iceland at the end of the month. So if there's any Reykjavik folks listening, you can go to ronplacone.com, come to my shows at the Fringe Festival, and then I'm going to be in the Northwest at the end of July with Graham Elwood. We're going to hit Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver, and I'll plug those dates again at the end. But yeah, so keep it busy, man, and yeah, things are going good.
Good. Everybody smash the like button. Share this live stream. Like button right under the video. By the way, we're going to get double the Ron. Around 5:45, we're going to go on call-in. So we'll be on call-in, the phone app. Phone app. I sound like I'm 90. The app on the phone where you could call in to the show. So we're going to be on there 5:45 Eastern for about a half hour, 45 minutes. Kind of a free-for-all of topics there. And I'm trying to figure out possibly as soon as next week, I'll be able to actually have call in just weaved into this show where I'll still be on YouTube, but we'll just take calls. So that should be fun. We could have trolls live via phone. So, Ron, there's a lot of doom and gloom going on. 19 kids slaughtered, 2 teachers, which other than Matthew McConaughey speaking at the White House, the media was already quietly moving on from that because in America, kids get slaughtered and we just move on. So I
Well, they,
decided,
they say it's an average of 3 days now. We have
yes,
so many mass shootings that the people kind of care about it for 3 days, and then they move on. You hear a couple platitudes on both sides, like both kind of like the whole like we need to do something. Do you know anyone who has power? I'm just the president of the United States. What could I possibly do? Do you know anyone with power? And then of course you have like the NRA out of our cold dead hands. It's a mental health thing, but we don't want to do anything about that either. Then 3 days pass and the cycle repeats.
I'm so happy. It's almost like you've seen our little list of topics here. By saying he's the president of the United States, it's almost like I'm the president of the United States because I decided in all this doom and gloom, let's have some fun here. So Colin, our producer here, has been working diligently on a little montage because I said to myself, you know what? You could get drunk these days off of the amount of times that pundits on TV, Joe Biden himself say, what can he do? What can he do on gas? What can he do on baby formula? What can he do on food prices? What can he do on, evictions, the climate, healthcare? Name your pick. What can he do? It's like he's the janitor at the White House rather than the president. So I said to myself, wait a minute. I'm hearing all this, but I heard a very drastically different message throughout the 2020 primaries from the cabal of usual suspects, MSNBC, CNN, the Democratic pundits. They were telling us that this is the man that could get things done, if you remember, that this is the pragmatic choice, Joe Biden. So Colin put this together. I think it's very, it's kind of timely now, since Biden's basically declared, there's nothing I could do, and we're just going to lie in fetal position till November. So, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at the Joe Biden narrative of 2020 that we were forced down our throat, compared to what you're hearing these days on what the president can and cannot do.
Look, folks, let's talk about progressive. Progressive is getting things done, and that's what we got done.
Senator Manchin and I are going to get something done. Thank you.
Can't do much right now. Russia's responsible. There's a lot of young people out there who are supportive of a more, I won't say rational, a more practical path to get things done.
He also believes that everyone should be held to the highest standard, but he'll let members of the leadership in Congress and members of Congress determine what the rules should be.
He doesn't just talk about aspiration. He actually works on aspirational things that can be achieved, and he has a track record of doing that.
They want to get things done.
When we first met Willems on Labor Day, she was weighing two options.
Biden would be my pragmatic choice.
Since you said it was a public health question, which agency should that question be directed to? Just the very practical, immediate question of if you can't find formula and you need it for your baby to eat, what should they be doing?
We would certainly encourage any parent who has concerns about their child's health or well-being to call their doctor or pediatrician.
And of course, Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. There are basically two lanes now, a progressive lane and a pragmatic lane.
The president continues to believe that no one should be in jail because of drug use. I don't have an update here. We are continuing to work with Congress.
He, in fact, can get things done. I have watched it.
A chance to look at Joe Biden again as somebody who is a pragmatic progressive.
Just by temperament and culture and background, Joe Biden seems less ideological and more pragmatic.
If Congress were to want to extend that, they need to take action. It's not a executive authority from the White House.
Voted for Trump last time, but I'm sorry I did it. And they said, I want to vote for someone who is pragmatic, who's a moderate, who's reasonable, who can achieve things. And that's my husband.
Because Joe gets stuff done. And that's why I'm so proud to endorse Joe Biden for President of the United States.
I sent the Congress a request for $300 billion in this year's budget to deal with hiring cops.
She and Joe Biden go in there, they're going to be able to get the job done.
But they were willing to go with Biden and vote for him if that was the pragmatic choice.
I know more than most people know, and I can get things done. That's why I'm running. Congress decides to do is for them to decide.
Joe Biden seriously has the experience of talking to people on both sides of the aisle and governing and getting things done.
The Constitution. I can't dictate this stuff. I can do the things I've done, and any executive action I can take, I'll continue to take. But I can't outlaw a weapon. I can't, change the background check. I can't do
You're a damn liar, man. That's not true. And no, you know what you said? Get your words straight, Jack.
So, Ron, you're the comedian. Obviously, that was a little satirical, actually real life, but a little play.
Real life.
A little
Truth is stranger than fiction, Jordan. It has been for a long time now.
Right. But, I think Colin did a great job there. We're actually working on a longer version. So, that was just a little appetizer for you viewers. But what are your thoughts there? Because we're going to hear this again in approximately 6 months after the Democrats get wiped out. The Democrats, the media, if Joe Biden, is able to run again, who knows, that he's the only one that can beat Trump. How do we know this? Because he just beat Trump, even though, honestly, he did not beat Trump with an overwhelming mandate. It was very narrow in the electoral college.
Donald Trump beat Donald Trump. That's what happened. Donald Trump beat Donald Trump.
And they're going to say, if you reelect Biden and more Democrats, so that we're not reliant on just Manchin, it's not 50-50, then we could actually get things done. Well, I don't know about you, but there's a whole lot of things he could get done by himself, or actually leading and doing a public crusade against Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, calling to end the filibuster, and he won't do any of that. So what are your thoughts? Because I think that's a pretty good display of the lie and the narrative we were fed.
Well, you know what? They're actually telling the truth when they're saying that Joe Biden can get things done. Joe Biden can definitely get things done. But let's define things. By things, we don't mean an executive order giving everyone health care during a pandemic, which, yes, he can do. We don't mean that. We don't mean forgiving student loan debt, which he could do with the stroke of a pen. We don't mean declaring a climate emergency, which he could do with the stroke of a pen. We don't mean addressing the living wage crisis. When they say Joe Biden can get things done, they mean the crime bill. They mean expanding drilling on public land, something he promised he wasn't going to do, but has since done anyway. They mean ending relief during a pandemic. That's what they mean when Joe Biden can get things done. Joe Biden has been getting things done for 40 years. What has he been getting done? They mean a vote in favor of the Iraq war. That's what Joe Biden gets done. That's what they mean by Joe Biden can get things done. Joe Biden is willing to do what Wall Street wants. What else can't Joe Biden get done? Gee, you mentioned digital rights, my wheelhouse. Gigi Sohn still has not been appointed to the FCC. Still a pro-net neutrality FCC member, which Joe Biden promised on the campaign trail. He promised that. It's such a little tiny thing, and it's not even something you can blame on Manchin or Sinema. They're not even going to fight this one. But it still hasn't happened because of all this nonsense the Republicans make up. It still hasn't happened. So, yeah, Joe Biden can get things done. It's just what things he is getting done. That is the problem. And everybody freaking knows it. And it is just so tired. It's the same story. This isn't new to 2022. The same thing happened in Obama's first 2 years. Oh, he could do all these things, but he just can't because Congress and Senate and blah, blah, blah. And if you don't understand why he can't do anything, it's just because you're a child and you don't understand how politics work. Why does it always go in one direction? Why is it always when Democrats have control, all the things they promise working people for some reason can't happen? All the time from 2004 to present. Going back even further than that. Why is it always in one direction? Yet when Republicans have any inkling of power, they do all the things that they promised Wall Street. And then Democrats behind the scenes do all the things that they promised Wall Street. Why is it always one direction? Well, it's because it's because they don't want to actually do those things. It's because Wall Street controls both parties. That's why I'm so tired of these bullshit excuses. It's so tired.
And by the way, we got 215 people watching, 120 likes. If you don't like me, if you don't like my new hat, nobody dislikes Ron Placone on earth. You have to press the like button for Ron.
I don't know if that's true, but thank you.
Well, thank you. So, there's a few things. What's interesting to me is there's a media component here because the media has basically, I hate to say it because we do have some boomers in the audience and I love you very much, but by the data, the majority of boomers who are the most reliable voter, they eat up these media narratives of who's pragmatic, who is electable, who can take, who will be appealing to swing voters, even though there's not a lot of them left. And the media fed this about Joe Biden, even though, frankly, on most things, Joe Biden was just Hillary Clinton with different parts. I think you said it best. But Trump defeated Trump. Biden had very little to do with this. If you look at the exit polls, most people's vote was to get Trump out of there. But
it was about 70%. They were we just want to get Trump out of there, which means, Bernie would have won in a landslide. But
I think what you're talking about is the definition of getting things done, because all of these pundits who are largely coastal elites who do very well, have book deals, speaking engagements, et cetera, their idea of getting things done is kind of this changing the furniture on the Titanic, not really changing anything structurally. So when you have narratives constantly fed by the elite in DC, that he's the only one that can get things done. Well, none of these people, and I'm not just talking about on cable news, New York Times columnists, people at BuzzFeed, Daily Beast, whatever. Most of these people have no urgency themselves. Most of these people are very, very disconnected from what getting things done means to people homeless in Los Angeles, homeless in San Francisco, being evicted throughout the country during a pandemic, falling, basically facing eviction now because rent is going up 30 to 50% in a lot of cities. So essentially, we were fed and lied to that this man could get things done when they left out he could get things done that the donors will allow him to get done. Because that's what bipartisan compromise means.
Oh, yeah. Bipartisanship means the Democrats are going to help the Republicans sell something awful. That's all it means. So, yeah, that's what Joe Biden can get done. And that's what he has gotten done. That's exactly what he's gotten done in the 2 years, which it's absolutely remarkable that he's been president for 2 years, something I don't even think he's aware of that. And so little things have just gotten worse. And then they cherry pick these statistics to be like, jobs are great. Jobs are great. During a public health crisis, with the state of the world being where it is, and you're talking about how great jobs are. I mean, we look like a cult right now because we are. We look like a straight up capitalism cult that is just obsessed with our GDP that, by the way, regular citizens don't benefit from. There is no connect to how Wall Street's doing and how stocks are doing and how regular people are doing in the United States. We need to wake up and realize we're in an empire. We are if this world was Game of Thrones, we are King's Landing, meaning we just pillage around the world. We're just a war economy. We're a war machine. And at home, people just accept a declining way of life because they're just there to serve the empire. The United States wants a handful of things from you. Either they want you, A, being one of those essential workers they talk about. They want you to keep, pushing the machine, but you better not ask for living wages and benefits because they ain't going to give you that. B, they want you in the military to fight these wars we shouldn't be in. C, they want you to be part of their elite little club. Or if you can't be any of those things, they just want you dead. That's how they want you. And if you don't fall into any of those categories, you are an undesirable in the United Corporations of America, a slogan I know that you love to use too, Jordan.
There you go. And by the way, your free United Corporations of America shirt is in the mail. I will send you.
Nice.
For those people that are, getting their wardrobe for the beach this summer, statuscoup.com/store to get your United Corporations of America shirt and your Fossil Fuckers shirt while you're at it. You could go over to the store. Look at that. Beautiful
Love
shirt.
it.
In the store, statuscoup.com/store. Anyway, but I think this video that Colin made is important because if you look at things right now, essentially to me, other than climate change, I don't know anything morally that is more important. I don't want to sound cheesy than protecting our children. Right. So the president, any politician, your role is to, you need to bend that brim a little, Jordan. I'll work on it. Your role is national security, protect the citizenry. Well, apparently that only means we create fake threats from brown people around the world. But when children are massacred or black people are massacred in white supremacist attacks in supermarkets, or name your pick, there was shootings over the weekend. I think there was like 10 shootings over the weekend.
We've had more shootings in days.
Right. For that, there's nothing I could do. I just got to wait for Congress. Well, there is something he could do. He didn't say it in his speech that he had the nice candles behind him. I don't know. What's the faster way? Trying to work with 10 Republicans to get some mealy-mouthed bullshit bipartisan deal done that's not going to do anything? Or you got on the record 2 Democratic senators saying they will not vote to end the filibuster, use the bully pulpit of the presidency, and go on a public crusade against these 2 senators. Maybe in reality, it's more than 2 senators, and Manchin and Sinema are just taking the arrows, but they're the only ones on the record. The 48 others have said they would vote to end the filibuster. So why is Biden not pointing them out? Why is Biden not telling the Democratic base to go to their offices peacefully, to call them and tell them, end the filibuster? Not just for this. We could codify Roe v. Wade, et cetera, et cetera. Hell, his predecessor, Obama, who he latches on to dear life for, that's how he got elected. Remember, he tweeted out the best friends bracelets.
Oh, I remember it
His
well.
predecessor said we should get rid of it, and it's the last relic of Jim Crow. So the media is only focusing on Republicans, and we should. I mean, they are soulless and bloodless, and we're going to get to Mitch McConnell in a minute. But there are things he could do. Whether it would convince Manchin and Sinema, I don't know. But you have a better shot actually using the presidency to shame these two senators. And from reports, Manchin can be shamed, and he does have thin skin. Instead of just saying, well, there's nothing we could do. We'll just take whatever we can get from Congress.
Yeah, I mean, and also among the list of things he can do, all the executive orders he could be doing right now. I mean, there are many. He did the absolute bare minimum, and that was by design. There were so many things he could have done for climate that he didn't even entertain doing. He didn't even flirt with the idea. He could eliminate student loan debt with the stroke of a pen. With the stroke of a pen, he could lift multiple generations out of crippling debt. It's not just millennials. It's not just Zoomers. It's some Gen Xers too. Like generations of people. That would be such a huge kickstart for the economy and so important. And it would be an actual kickstart for regular people, not just some of the bullshit like, oh, the stock market's doing great, which, by the way, that's not even true. The stock market's not doing great, just to decide anyway. But he's not doing any of it. And the reason he's not, it's so interesting. You brought up Obama and that sort of thing. It's so funny how our politics works, where you have these people tweeting these very obvious things that we should do, that I'd do if I was there, that they tweet these nice things whenever they're not in the power to actually do anything, whenever they're just kind of out of office or whatever else, or they just tweet all these nice things when they know like these bills won't be front and center. And then all of a sudden, when they have a chance at doing something, all of a sudden they're silent on that. How many people were tweeting and talking about Medicare for all when there was a Republican majority and they knew there was no way anything like that would even be uttered? Well, now there's a Democratic majority. Where are all these supporters of Medicare for all at all of a sudden? Gee, I don't know. It's a ministry of appeasement. It really is. And it is just so bread and circus. It is just so like, we're gonna just kind of feed you these little appeasing things and make it seem like we're your friend, when really you have a government that is actively working against you. That's just definitionally what they're doing. They're actively working against you. And here in California, we just had a primary, and a lot of it was just more of the same and more of the same. But there were a few glimmers of hope that I saw, and all those glimmers of hope were at the local level. People like to ignore how important localization is. And if electoralism is your wing, we're talking about electoralism right now. That's the lane we're in this discussion. If electoralism is your thing, that's fine. It takes all kinds to make the world go round, all right? It takes everybody in the toolkit to change. Electoralism is part of that toolkit. But if that's your lane, don't forget about city councils. Don't forget about school boards. Don't forget about mayor. If you don't think school board's important, go tell a bunch of people in Tennessee that school board doesn't matter when they're dealing with a bunch of books that just got banned. Go tell the people in my parents' neighborhood when their mayor was able to get a drilling ban through in their neighborhood. Local matters so much. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that local politics doesn't have any corruption. Of course it does. But there is so much more transparency in comparison, and you have such a better chance to either get people who want to serve the community and are activists and members of your community that want to make it better, or people who want to exploit your community and help out their developer friends. Those are typically the two types of people that run for local office. Right. People that actually want to help the community and people who want to exploit it. And you know what? The people who want to exploit it, they figured out a long freaking time ago how important local politics are. You think that Rick Caruso, where I'm at in LA, a billionaire running for mayor, what, you think he's doing that because he wants the gig? He needs the money? You think times are getting tough for him? No, he wants the gig so he can help out his developer friends, make it even more of their playground, which is what Garcetti's been doing too. And you guys are dealing with the same thing out in New York with your cop mayor. Right. So for crying out loud, people, we could talk all day about this do-nothing Congress and a do-nothing Senate, and it is valid, abso-frickin-lutely. But for crying out loud, let's figure out the playbook that the frickin' developers figured out a long time ago and start fighting back. And it starts right in our own backyard.
I agree. And by the way, it's not looking good for LA with that Rick Caruso, based on him going against what is it, Karen Bass?
Karen Bass.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, he didn't. I mean, obviously, the biggest fear was if he got to 50%, it's just over. Because the way it works here, like, there's no runoff if someone gets 50%. The election's just over. So he did not get 50%. It was kind of close. And a lot of people that, Karen Bass wasn't their first choice, they're going to vote for her to make sure he doesn't get in. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it's a done deal like Rick Caruso's set. He's really good at getting celebrity endorsements for people who don't even frickin' live here, which is Kim Kardashian doesn't live in LA. If anyone was curious, she doesn't live in LA. She lives in Calabasas. That's not in frickin' LA. Kid Rock doesn't live in LA. I think he still lives in Detroit or something. There were a couple others. I don't need to list it off, but you can look it up.
I will say, and people might not want to hear this because I think Ron and I both want to get money out of politics. Until that day comes, progressives locally and federally, they need to figure out a way to compete financially because I mean, look at what just happened with Chesa Boudin. I mean, in San Francisco, the district attorney, he's done a lot of great things. I'm not saying the only reason he lost was because of money, but literally, I mean, there was, I think, millions of dollars poured in San Francisco to get rid of him. He lost pretty overwhelmingly, but the narrative that was out there was fed by billionaires, when in reality, crime in San Francisco on the data is actually down. They just don't like Chesa Boudin because he's trying to change trying to reform the criminal justice system to end cash bail, to take non-violent offenders out of prison, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you're right on as far as local politics, but the suffocation of money, even in local politics, progressives need to figure out a way to compete with that. I'm not saying go take money from the same nefarious actors, but we could organize and we could knock on doors, et cetera, but a lot of voters, the main thing they see in their main vantage point to elections is the TV ads they see.
You can take this one example to show the other side of that coin and show like what possibilities are out there. Now, I'm not trying to get overexcited here because he still has to win in the runoff, but you look at someone like a Kenneth Mejia. Now, Kenneth Mejia, for anyone who's not familiar, he ran for Congress as a Green in California, did pretty good, made the runoff as a Green, did not emerge victorious in the general. He went against a very corporate Democrat, was not able to overcome it. He decided to go local. He decided to dive into city controller, which admittedly I'd like to think I do a somewhat decent job paying attention, but I kind of had to get a crash course on what exactly a controller does. It's not the most obvious position out there. I think that's fair to say. But what a controller does is it really kind of takes a look at what a city budget's all about. So what did Kenneth Mejia do? Well, first of all, he did develop a big grassroots support group. Through all the work he had been doing, he used neat and creative ways to get his message out. He DJs, he had dance parties, stuff like that. And then what he invested in billboards showing the city budget in LA and how much went to cops versus how much went to everywhere else, and said, hey, we could do better than this. That caught on. And he was the highest performing candidate. He finished first in the primary. He now has to go to a runoff. It's not guaranteed that he's going to win that runoff, but he has a lot of momentum behind him. And he did it via the grassroots. He did it via the people. He did it via social media, via knocking on doors, via forming coalitions with other grassroots candidates, via forming coalitions with different activist groups. So it can be done. It's not easy. There's a lot of strategy around it. And hey, he's not quite at that finish line yet, but I mean, I'm going to do everything I can to help him get there. And I hope other people do as well. So, there are some glimmers of light throughout it all is what I'm saying.
Right. And you're right. Carne Verde, the Democratic Party in San Francisco and California also, we're quite active in trying to get rid of Boudin. I want to move on to the next topic. Smash that like button, share this live stream. It's not breaking news that Mitch McConnell and his turkey neck are vile cretins, but this is a little beyond the pale even for me, and I hope for you, Ron. So earlier today, Colin, if you have it, there was a man with a weapon arrested near Brett Kavanaugh's home. The man allegedly told police he wanted to kill the Supreme Court justice. A man with a gun and a knife was detained by police early Wednesday morning near Brett Kavanaugh's home in Maryland after making threats against the Supreme Court justice. Yada, yada, yada. I don't need to read the rest, but essentially, from what he told police, he was upset about the Supreme Court leak that, the Roe v. Wade decision, which was leaked a couple weeks ago. As of now, it would be a 5-4 decision to overturn Roe v. Wade unless something radically changes. Kavanaugh, beyond just the sexual assault stuff, perjured himself during his hearing. In addition to Samuel Alito perjured himself, Amy Coney Barrett perjured herself, and Gorsuch, when they basically said Roe v. Wade is settled law and alluded to, I respect that it's the precedent and that it's settled law. Anyway, after he wasn't attacked, we don't know if he was going to be attacked. We just know someone was arrested, not outside his home, but near his home. After that, Mitch McConnell has pants on fire urgency to do something to protect the Supreme Court justices. Let's take a look at Mr. McConnell on the Senate floor after this news broke.
This is exactly the kind of event that many feared, that the terrible breach of the court's rules and norms could fuel. This is exactly the kind of event that many worried the unhinged, reckless, apocalyptic rhetoric from prominent figures toward the court, going back many months, and especially in recent weeks, could make more likely. This is exactly why the Senate passed legislation very shortly after the leak to enhance the police protection for justices and their families. This is common sense, non-controversial legislation that passed in this chamber unanimously. But House Democrats have spent weeks blocking the measure that passed here unanimously related to security for Supreme Court justices. The House's Democrats have refused to take it up. Now, look, Mr. President, that needs to change, and it needs to change right now. Right now. House Democrats must pass this bill, and they need to do it today. No more fiddling around with this. They need to pass it today. They need to stop their multi-week blockade against the Supreme Court security bill and pass it before the sun sets today.
Before the sun sets today. And by the way, just imagine having to live with that, man. Ugh. Anyway, it's just incredible. First of all, maybe this is a controversial take. I don't know why the Supreme Court justices are entitled to 24/7 security. I don't know. I mean, they don't run for the position. They're not elected. But
remember when they made Chuck Schumer seem reasonable?
Right.
I mean, it's like, look, I do not condone violence. I'm not, like condoning that in any way. But as far as like protesting outside of someone's home, I'm fine with that. I mean, that's like that's the gig they have. And even Chuck Schumer was like, there's people outside my home all the time protesting whatever. It just kind of comes with the territory. They made Chuck Schumer seem like the voice of reason, where he's just like, yeah, this is ridiculous. It happens all the time. Get over it. And it's amazing the sense of urgency Mitch McConnell has over this thing, which, again, like there wasn't actually any attack that happened or anything like that. It's amazing that this is a sense of urgency, but it's not a sense of urgency that people are getting slaughtered in supermarkets, in schools. That's not there's actually nothing we could possibly do about that. Nor should we. Why would we do that? There was this amendment that was written many years ago when weaponry was completely different than it is now and isn't interpreted through a modern day lens at all. But that has to be the be all and end all. I mean, if a bunch of people who had slaves and would take 10 paces and then shoot guns at each other to solve their problems. If they say something, well, it must be. Why could we ever mess with that? Surely they could have never been wrong about anything.
Right.
So this has got to be treated as the gospel truth. Let me tell you.
Right.
So yeah, man, it's just, I don't know how anyone, whenever I see people taking the United States government seriously, it's like the people at the wrestling match who have to pretend like the match is real. And I'm not trying to put down professional wrestling because it takes a lot of physical skill there. I mean, I respect it, but it's like, this is such a parody of a parody of a parody at this point. And this is just the royals wagging their fingers at the peasants at this point. Oh, Kavanaugh, we need to do something now. But when one of the royals got, there was mud in the direction of one of the royals when they were passing by the peasants. Didn't actually get anywhere near the cart they were being carried on, but it landed on the floor beside them. How dare they have you no respect? We are going to cut back on some of the gruel next week. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? People are like, well, it's like, it's not this bad in other parts of the world. It really isn't. Like, a lot of other countries are not this bad. I'm not saying anywhere's perfect. There's plutocrats everywhere. There's oligarchs everywhere. I'm not saying anywhere's a utopia. But holy shit, we are collapsing, folks. We're collapsing.
And you want to know something? Again, I agree with you. Whether it's Kavanaugh or people I don't like, we're not condoning violence. But what do you expect? Do you not expect certain people in society to become violent as everything crumbles around him and an unelected board basically tries to make decisions that can actually kill women? Because McConnell is very worried about the safety of the Supreme Court. Well, frankly, they're wealthy enough. They could buy their own security. They could fund their own security if they want 24/7 security. We, the taxpayer, do not need to fund the security. And I'm talking about liberal judges too. But they make decisions that for the most disproportionately affected people, women, that is poor, mostly black and brown women, it could kill them because we're going to have to go back to the days of back alley abortions. Texas women cannot afford to fly to California to get an abortion. So he's very worried about a shooter or a would-be shooter who is found near Kavanaugh's home. Not saying that's nothing, but that's a local law enforcement issue, really. But he's not no problem at all with mostly older white men making permanent decisions that could kill women, not to mention all the other decisions, including on guns, the Supreme Court has made that can kill and has killed people. The other thing is, like you said, he's talking about the Democrats blocking things, and I hate to defend the Democrats. You know that. This man, all he has done for the majority of his career is block progress, any progress. I mean, if Obama had balls, which he didn't, Mr. Constitutional Republic here, Mitch McConnell, blocked Obama from having a Supreme Court justice. We wouldn't even be in this mess. We wouldn't be in this mess because Obama would have been able to appoint Garland, who is not progressive, but at least, he was a reliable vote on Roe v. Wade. So it's just amazing to me. And the media doesn't call this out. The media is not going to call him out for,
no.
Wait a minute.
Well,
Why do you have this urgency to protect Brett Kavanaugh? But all we could do is, use only one door at schools, which is insane and a fire code hazard. And, all we could do is, strengthen mental health, even though Republicans, when in power, have cut expenses, cut funding for mental health. I mean, it's just asinine. And it's really offensive if I was a parent who just lost a kid or a family member who lost anyone in one of these mass, name your mass.
I don't know how any parent sleeps at night. I just don't. And I have a lot of friends with kids. I'm sure you do too. Like, I don't know how anybody sleeps at night. I mean, it's absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, I wanted to play that clip because honestly, right now, from what I'm reading, there might be a deal, a bipartisan deal, which, as I always say, when you hear
Oh, of
bipartisan,
course.
yeah,
Yeah. If powerful, if it's war or it's something that the powerful wants, man, they can get stuff done real quick. They can
right.
get those votes real quick. But when it's something that benefits people, all of a sudden they just can't. There's just these problems. They just can't do anything. Gee shucks. There's Manchin. There's the parliamentarian. There's pick your excuse. And there's
Absolutely.
been the same excuse. It's like when do you just get tired? But it's easier to and then with Roe v. Wade, it's easier to wag your finger at anyone who voted for the Green Party or anyone who didn't vote Hillary or whatever else. Instead of looking at what's really going on, they had 40 some years to codify it. They didn't. They could have talked about expanding the Supreme Court. They wouldn't even utter the words. They could have forced Obama to fight for a pick that was rightfully his. They didn't. They could have done anything to stall one of Trump's final picks. They only needed to do it for 2 months. For 2 months, they did nothing. And for people like, well, they didn't have the Senate. What did you expect them to do? Okay, Republicans don't have control of anything right now, and they've stalled tons of stuff. So I can assure you, if the shoe was on the other foot, and for 2 months, the Democrats, the Republicans just had the House. They didn't have the Senate. They didn't have the White House. You could be damn sure they would have found a way, threatened to shut down, thrown every stall bill in the book in front of people. They would have found a way to get those 2 months to pass before doing anything. You know it. So these people that make up excuse after excuse, it's like, when are you going to realize the Washington Generals aren't trying to win the damn basketball game? When are you going to realize that? They're not trying to win. It's an act.
Absolutely. Lastly, I want to get to this because this was really good. Right now, in your neck of the woods, is the Summit of the Americas, which is one of these fake democracy conferences. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is speaking at this conference. So there was a little hubbubaloo, I think it was yesterday, 2 days ago, where Abby Martin, as well as others, confronted Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on, I guess, the selective enforcement of democracy that is the United Corporations of America. Let's first look at Abby, of course, with Empire Files, who does amazing work. She confronted Mr. Blinken on, the Israeli soldiers executing a Palestinian American journalist, as well as other things.
Blinken, what about Shireen Abu Akleh? She was murdered by Israeli forces, right? CNN just agreed to this. These are your 2 greatest allies in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and Israel. They have murdered American journalists, and there have been absolutely no repercussions. And you're sitting up here talking about the freedom of press and democracy. The United States is denying sovereignty to tens of millions of people around the world with draconian sanctions for electing leaders that you do not like. Why is there no accountability for Israel or Saudi Arabia for murdering journalists? It is one of the most dangerous places in the world to be a journalist in Palestine.
I deplore the loss of Shireen. She was a remarkable journalist, an American citizen, as you all know. And there too, we are determined to follow the facts and get to the truth of what happened.
Secretary Blinken, with all due respect.
I'm sorry, with respect, they have not yet been established.
Yes, that has.
No, they have not. We were looking for an independent, credible investigation. When that investigation happens, we will follow the facts wherever they lead. It's as straightforward as that. That has not yet happened, but it's something that we very much want to see happen.
And we'll have time after the panel, of course, to talk more about.
Wowzers. Credit to her.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Listen, we're going to wait until you guys forget about this and continue doing nothing. That's what he means by they're waiting for an investigation.
Right.
So we're going to wait this cycle out.
And by the way,
Gore Vidal said it. We're the United States of amnesia, and that's what people count on.
By the way, what Abby was referring to, Colin, if you have it, CNN, which I don't get to say this often, but credit to them, they investigated and they concluded they were shooting directly at the journalist. New evidence suggests Shireen Abu Akleh was killed in targeted attack by Israeli forces. So that's from CNN. No bastion of,
Yeah, but when even they come around to something, it's like, okay,
right?
How much, you know?
And by the way, putting aside who killed her, which I mean, not just CNN, but what's that terrible place?
There could be a lot of places.
Starts with a B. It's one of those think tanky. I forget. But even CNN, who did this, putting aside who killed her, I mean, there's video of Israel basically like invading her home during her funeral, taking down Palestinian, the IDF soldiers, to be clear. I said Israel, taking down Palestinian flags, this and that. I mean, that's like basically spitting on somebody's grave before they're buried. But it was so interesting.
That was disturbing to watch. I mean, it was hard to watch that. It really was.
But it's so interesting because you constantly hear this. We need an independent Well, who's going to be doing the independent investigation? The White House hot dog guy? Who's going to be doing the independent investigation that news outlets have already done? It can't be independent if Israel is involved. But apparently, from everything I've read, the United States has not said, well, Israel cannot be involved or have any say in this investigation. Which brings me to the next clip, because it's very similar. You're going to hear the word again, independent. I don't know if this was a journalist or just an activist, but confronted Secretary Blinken on the fact that how is it that Haiti is here when the president of Haiti, he's not even recognized, or he shouldn't be recognized, and it's not even clear if he assassinated his predecessor. But Haiti is here, but Cuba and Venezuela are not invited to this summit. Let's take a look at that.
How you justify the invitation of Dr. Ariel Henry from Haiti when he is actually governing with no constitutional mandate. His government has been implicated in many different crimes, including potentially the murder of the past president. Countries like Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua are being excluded from the Summit of the Americas because you deem them to not be democratic. But how can you use that as your justification when you have the so-called Prime Minister of Haiti who is ruling under no sort of democratic mandate here?
Yeah, we, like many other countries, are determined to get to the facts of what happened in Haiti, including the assassination of the previous prime minister. We're determined to find the facts wherever they lead and to whomever they lead.
But does democracy only matter if they disagree with the United States government? What is your actual basis for saying a government is undemocratic and another one can't be invited, and another one that's undemocratic can be invited?
You hear the same talking points wherever the facts may lead. He said the same thing on the Israel question. And by the way, it's very interesting.
It's like the thoughts and prayers of having to answer a question.
Yes, that's a very good thing.
It's like the thought. Well, we're waiting for the facts will be where they lead. That's like the thoughts and prayers of actually answering a question.
Well, it's also interesting because they can't seem to keep it together, whether Venezuela is a dictatorship or our friend, whether Juan Guaido is the president, who's not the president, or Maduro. A couple months ago, after the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, gas prices started to go up. This is from Washington Post. White House reaches out to Venezuela, a longtime foe amid Russia crisis. The Biden White House inched closer Monday to a modest reapproachment with oil-rich Venezuela, a bitter foe to the oppressive policies of President Nicolas Maduro, as it urgently sought ways to stave off the economic, diplomatic, and political impact of soaring gas prices that nudged over $4 a gallon. The potential thaw arrives as the White House sent a delegation to Venezuela over the weekend to discuss energy sanctions imposed by the U.S. several years ago and to address the fate of American citizens who have been jailed in the country, including 6 oil executives from Citgo. So it's very interesting. They're democratic enough for us to go visit, and let's just be clear, we're visiting them to try and get their oil, but not democratic enough to be invited to this conference. By the way, Nicaragua, who we basically destroyed that country several decades ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
By the way, how much is gas in your neck of the woods? Like $7.50?
Oh, how about? Oh, well, 6 is pretty much the average, 6-ish. Okay. But then you have a few places in California, and it's not just in LA area; it's throughout the state, where it's like they're really gouging big time for whatever reason. I don't know like exactly how that works, but it's like past 9 in some places. So it's pretty crazy, man. We got to get off fossil fuels. It's over. It's time. It's time. We got to get off of it.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I just wanted the audience to see that. Credit to Abby, because you're not going to hear actual U.S. corporate journalists ever press anybody, much less the Secretary of State, on that. I'm surprised she got in the building, frankly. But that's what we need.
Because she changed her hair color. They didn't recognize her.
Might be true.
They were like, who are you? And she said, I am Gabby Martine. I work for NPR.
Absolutely.
Like, oh,
absolutely.
That's my theory. I don't know. I don't quote me on that. Ask Abby or Abby. No, I did. Ask Abby directly. That's my theory.
Before we move over to call in, let me read some super chats. Christina, $4.99. You told us to vote for Biden in 2020, knowing what a disaster he would be. Stop telling your audience to vote Democratic. They get nothing from it. Ron, I got to tell you, I'm going to lose my cool brimmed hat in 2 seconds. Because this is, I don't know if there's like a DM group on Twitter where they all have the same talking point. Christina, thanks for the super chat. There is no video that exists of me ever telling you to vote Democrat. There is no video that exists of me ever telling you who to vote for. Not Bernie, not Nina Turner, not AOC, not the mailman, not the PTA candidate. I have never told you who to vote for. So let me give you the birds and the bees here, not to condescend. Telling you what I personally am going to do is not the same thing as telling you what to do. Me doing something that you disagree with is not me imposing what I did on you. You could vote for whoever you like, whenever you like, or you cannot vote. Third party, Democrat, Republican, do whatever you want. Not vote, but let's not push this bullshit, because I never told people how to vote. And my coverage has never changed, despite how I personally vote. And to the peoples out there, I didn't vote for Hillary in 2016. I lost a good friend of mine because of that. I voted for Biden in 2020 for reasons I already outlined.
Did you get that friend back? What happened with the friend?
Oh yeah, it was just kind of like a resistance.
The friend brought you back.
Yeah,
you voted Biden. We're friends again now.
Right.
I was really mad about the Hillary thing, but now
no. We were friends again before Biden. But
that's good.
But people need to, if people are so triggered by not being fed what they want to hear 24/7, I don't know what to tell you. Go watch people that feed you what you want to hear.
Well,
but I've never told you or anybody else to vote for Biden. That's just not true.
Well, and this isn't a response to the Christina. This is just more of a general thing. Like I'm kind of like you in that regard. I don't tell people who to vote for. If I'm asked what I'm doing, I will say. Now, I did not vote for Biden. I voted third party. But my thing is, I actually made a video. I don't know if you saw it, but around 2020, I made a video that just said, I'm sick of hearing whether or not you're voting for Biden. And the reason I made that video was for the reason I was so tired of honestly, even some people who were on my side of the bones as far as what they were going to do. I don't consider people that have some strategic differences from me to be my opponents necessarily. I'm just saying, like, there were some people who were just like, well, I'm voting for Biden. It's a no-brainer because and then there were other people who were just like, well, I'm not voting for Biden and and I'm like, look, I'm more pissed off at the situation we're in as a society than I am at the people who have to deal with it. So it's like, look, it really sucks that in 2020, we were put in a position where one of two sex pest, plutocrat racists was going to be president. That fucking sucks. That's terrible. No one deserves that. The United States and the people who live there don't deserve that. But because we're a freaking oligarchy and because the game is completely rigged and because it's fixed, we didn't even have an honest primary. Biden didn't honestly beat Bernie. Everyone knows that. So people's arms were freaking twisted. And that sucks. And I get why people like, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Like, I get it. If someone comes at me for my choice, if someone comes at me for oh, well, you voted green and blah, so this is your fault, I'll defend myself. I'll stand up to them and I'll tell them why I think they're freaking wrong. And I'll be saying the same thing I've said for 6 years. Look, if you need somebody to explain how the Electoral College works and someone to explain how matching funds works, go find someone in a 7th grade civics class if they teach that anymore, because you need someone who has more patience than I do, because I'm really tired of this fucking record that you guys have been spinning for 6 years and it's bullshit.
Well, that's the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing to me, Ron. I don't know if I'm not saying Christina, who left the comment. All these people, a lot of these people who are constantly, not just with me, but others, you voted for Biden, you voted for Biden, are the same people ranting that they're being voter shamed for voting third party. It's not right to vote shame you for voting third party, and you don't need to be vote shaming other people. People can vote however they want. If you don't agree with it, that's not a reason to cancel them. It's not a reason not to watch their content. I mean, you just have a different view. I don't know who I'm voting for in 2024. I voted third party many times. I vote based on the conditions at the time and the threats that I deem. And if you don't like it, don't like it. You should have a problem with me if I was actually telling viewers or trying to stuff down viewers' throats, vote blue no matter who, vote for Biden even though he's a warmonger corporatist. But that has never come out of my mouth. All right, next one. Big Dumb Animal, $5. Always great to have Ron visit the coup. I agree. I agree.
Thank you.
And that
I am glad I have the Big Dumb Animal lobby.
Yes.
I'm a big dumb animal myself, so thank you.
Not a bootlicker, $5. Friendly advice. If your shirts really have the logo in the vertical center of your shirts, move it higher. It's a weird look in the center. Oh, you're talking about the Status Coup shirts? All right. Colin, if you read that, maybe we need to realign the shirts. Good comment. Mika, $10. Thank you. Joe Biden gets things done for corporations. He does. He told them nothing would change.
Well said.
Double K, $49.99. Thank you, Double K. Every day is Double K. Thank you so much for your continued support. Sable, $10. As Rosanna Donna says, it's always something. Nah, here's the change. I'll have to look up who that is. I'm not sure, but she sounds great. Thank you for the $10. And Venetia, David, £5. Great session today. Thanks, Jordan and Ron. Thanks, Jordan and Ron. Thank you from the UK. Ron, before we move over to call and pimp your stuff, because you're getting it from YouTube pretty bad too.
Yeah, thank you for that. So first of all, I do have some tour dates for anyone out there. I will be in Iceland. If there's any Iceland listeners, I'll be part of the Reykjavik Fringe Festival. That's the end of this month. My shows are June 28th and June 30th. If you want more info and tickets, you can get that from my website, ronplacone.com. And back in the United States and Canada, Graham Elwood and myself are doing some dates in the Northwest. We're doing Portland, July 28th, Seattle, July 29th, and Vancouver, British Columbia on July 30th. You can get tickets at ronplacone.com. And I just finished a mini pilot. Now, that is not released publicly quite yet, but if you join my Patreon for a Give What You Can level, you can preview that now. So if you want to watch my mini pilot, it is out now. It's called Loner, and I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm excited to share it with the world. We'll be dropping it for everyone soon, but if you want to check it out in the meantime, you can go ahead and join my Patreon, and you can join my Patreon for a Give What You Can level. Yeah, that's pretty much everything going on in Rob Placone world. Still working on my movie. That's been a slower process than I would have liked, but making a movie is a pretty involved process, folks. I know some of you thought that was going to take like 2 months. It does take a lot longer than that. So I am still working on that as well. And ronplacone.com, YouTube Ron Placone, Twitter at Ron Placone. I'm Ron Placone on all the platforms. I make it easy.
Absolutely. Thank you everybody for watching. Reminder, we could only grow as far as you take us. StatusCoup.com/join. Right now, even though I have a torn ACL, if you missed it yesterday, I'm wearing a cast on my knee. Maybe I'll tell you guys in the call-in what happened. But even though I'm gimping a little bit, I am looking into getting on the road again. Have a trip in mind that I think people would like down south. So, but we need your help. We need your funding to fund on the ground reporting because there's clearly a lot of channels providing you the hot takes, not as many or any actually getting out there and covering important stories. So if you can, support us, StatusCoup.com/join. become a member for as low as $5 a month. And get into our members Discord channel as a member and other perks as a member. And one more, thank you, Gene, $1.99. It's none of your business who I voted for. There you go. I like that.
Sometimes I think we should really get back. Ralph Nader never tells. It's sometimes I'm like, yeah, maybe he's got a point there, like maybe that's the way I always, if people ask me, I tell, I don't, especially president, because I just feel like, again, this sort of calls back to what we sort of were talking about earlier. We're taught the presidential elections are the most important thing in the world. It's actually quite the opposite. The most important elections, if you live in the United States, are the ones in your neighborhood. Those are the most important ones to show up for. And then midterms and then presidential. We're taught that presidential is the most, never miss a presidential election where you have these two awful choices. But it should be the opposite. It should be, I vote in everything. Like I always show up, but it should be like you should never miss a freaking local election.
Absolutely. I agree with that. All right, folks. Colin, let's remind the folks, how do they get on the call-in, which is coming up next? Colin. Go ahead.
All you need to do is download the app on your iPhone or Android, Callin, CALLIN, and you just search Status Coup, that's our tag, and you'll be able to follow us and look at the past recordings as well as join in live, and you can raise your hand and stuff during the thing to talk to Jordan directly.
And Ron, because Ron has a great voice. Ron has a great voice for radio or podcasting, whatever. So we're going over there now. We'll see you guys there next.